I just find it, I love it when you pop off in a game and then the next game, like they first rotation ban, like Zoe's not a big ban, right? Yeah, it's just a respect ban. And they're gonna take the Jinx again. Renekton obviously available. Not sure they necessarily need to lean on that, but they are gonna take that Aphelios very early. And I like this more because I think if you leave the Aphelios until that third pick, it means you're pigeonholed into it. If TT picks something on their side you want to respond to, you can't, because if you let the Aphelios go, it will get banned. So that's going to be picked up. Looks like they're tired of the horse, tired of getting invaded. Tarzan toying with the idea of picking up the Lee Sin. And you know what? I'm going to say this. Tarzan, rather solid on the Lee Sin, I think is a very lukewarm take.
How controversial for you to say. How unbelievably tepid. But yeah, I see the Lee Sin getting locked in. It looks like neither side wants to go towards the Heck Room. Yeah, they're gonna go Xin Zhao Thresh, so they want to try and get that safety in the bot side. And again, I gotta say that the bot lane has been pretty good for the side of LNG, so getting that extra safety for Puff on this Jinx isn't a bad idea. But now we start to go into the next setups where the Gwens, the Orianas, the the big kind of mid and top lane picks can be left open.
Yeah, and Nautilus makes sense here, right? This is very much an even draft where both teams pick the bot lanes and junglers, so you look in the other areas. I feel like LNG kind of happy with this because they get first choice coming out the draft, out of the ban phase to prioritize something, and then they also get counter picks. So I think things fairly fine for them. And for LNG, you can look at banning away. If you want to prioritize something like the Gwen yourself, you could ban away the counters to it. They are actually just going to flat out ban the Gwen. Not really too concerned about that. They could look towards the Renekton, which we saw them ban in the early rotation. For TT, there could be some picks that you're concerned about Ole getting his hands on. Gwen is really like the big one that I'm like, and that's already banned away. You could look towards the mid lane, right? Doinb's been playing things like the Oriana and the Victor. You could look to target some of those mages, but really, I feel like if you have the Lee Sin, I want to see LNG commit to a very strong mid jungle duo. I want things like the Vex, right? I want things to have that great setup for him.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of focus now onto those big carries, the Gwen, the Camille, the Jace, the Silas. I would love to see a Jace ban here for TT. Gives them an opportunity to kind of maybe go for something else, unless they're happy to pick something into it, but would be a very standard set of bans here should that one come out. And no, they're actually going to go with the Vex. Actually, I kind of like this one here because, again, it's taking away agency from Doinb, who, as of game 1 and 2, has been incredibly quiet in that mid lane.
Yeah, we keep seeing the Silas ban, and it makes me think an Ahri's going to come through because it's a good matchup, but really, they actually just want to ban it so they can take the Twisted Fade. Obviously, you don't want to see the Silas stealing away your destiny to match, so kind of back to the age-old Doinb roaming special, one of those sort of picks, and it does mean that he can sync up well with Tarzan when the opponent clicks CC. TT might be just looking at a safe top lane blind in the Gragas. Could see Ole answer this with a Gnar, which is a pretty good matchup, so might be a little bit cause for concern there. And then Cal, I want something that can contest that mid, right? You have a variety of picks. Ahri is kind of going to miss, but honestly, Veigar's not going to have the most early pressure, but in terms of team fighting, this becomes very difficult for LNG. See what they end up opting towards. Still other options open and available, but ultimately, early pressure wouldn't go amiss. Could they do it? Oh, yeah, and they're going to lock the Ahri. We've been talking about it for basically all 3 drafts so far. Great setup, right? Great skirmishing power. A lot of pick potential. Not quite as much as a Zoe, but it's there. And now for Ole, I feel like Gnar would be like the kind of safe pick to go for in the situation, but he's not wanting safe. He is wanting the Fiora. He's wanting to dominate that side lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And this has become one of those very prominent picks now. When you blind pick a tank into that top lane on the side of the blue, you end up getting that Fiora blind pick. We've seen it into Sion a couple of times. Now we're seeing it into the Gragas. Yes, you do have the option as new to go for that full AP, but I don't think that's the right option here. I still think full tank Gragas, or at least pseudo tank Gragas, is still the better way to go for it. But with Ala now on a patented Fiora pick, something that he is known for, it's going to be a lot of pressure in that top lane with the Lee Sin, the Twisted Fate, all at level 6 being able to pile up that top side.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say, right, in terms of how the team comp's going to function, TT are far and away way more comfortable in team fights, right? There is going to be a period where TF gets 2 items where it's a bit manageable, right? If anyone steps up, you stun card them, you kite them back. But for the most part, I favor TT heavily, and especially as it goes late in the game. You have the reset potential of the Ahri and the Jinx. You have great front line. You have this backline carry. You have pretty solid range advantage with the Jinx. She's going to be comfortable. LNG's composition is a bit more difficult, right? I kept talking about the tools they had in the earlier compositions that were easy to play around. They are very reliant on the mid jungle getting ahead. This is like so instrumental that Tarzan and Doinb have a good game. And then if they get light ahead, great. If they get all ahead, that's a great side lane win con in later stages. The team fighting is never going to be on par unless they are, you know, significantly ahead, or again, playing around that sort of 2-item spike for TF is a window. But ultimately, I feel like LNG, they need to have a strong performance in the early game. Otherwise, I'm going to be a bit concerned.
I think we're all literally a bit concerned as we come into this one. Like we said, if LNG want to try and stop the bleeding, stop hemorrhaging these games and these series, that needs to start now. You're against the 16th place team in the league. You need to find a win, otherwise you will go to 7-4. And like you mentioned, this is exactly the same thing happened in summer 2021. They went on a 7-0 win streak, then they went on a 5-game loss streak, and were only able to bring themselves back up to a pretty decent standing right at the end of the season, but it put them all the way down the ladder in terms of the playoffs. And having those extra series is just exhausting. The higher you are, the more playoff buys you get, and that's what you're hunting for here as LNG. You started off so brightly, you have such a great team. You could argue all they've done is improve on the positions they've had in last year. They need to win. There is no ifs, buts, or maybes about that. This needs to be a win coming out here against TT.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a little bit interesting if they were to lose the series against TT at this point. And I have to credit TT have definitely put up opposition, right? This isn't just LNG playing awfully. It does feel like TT have definitely been stepping up recently. Obviously, coming off the back of their win against FTX was pretty major. Now, they didn't start off, Ollie trying to be annoying here, top lane, but you will just kind of check him. And there is definitely windows in the early game where, like, if Gragas body slams into a riposte, it could be painful. But for the most part, I think New's going to be pretty comfortable early. Tarzan starting on the bot side, so unlike the other games where it felt like both junglers were kind of mirrored and it gave windows for Chieftain to kind of invade Tarzan or Hecarim, this is going to be them ending up on opposite sides of the map. So potential opportunity to make things happen, although I think in the first clear I don't really see too many windows, except possibly mid is a gank setup able, just because both mid laners have that point and click CC. Well, TF has the point and click CC. Ahri obviously has to connect the charm.
Yeah, well, it feels like sometimes with some of these pro players that it is a point-and-click CC, and now New, having already used the body slam, is going to be going a little bit aggressive as Ale gets himself to level 2, gets himself pushed up, and you can see just with the grasp of the Undying, Rune being picked up here. I like it kind of set up there. Hook goes wide in bot side, but it does mean that the Gragas should be able to keep a relatively decent amount of HP as we go later on in the game. As we see both junglers actually starting on opposite sides of the jungler, both starting on their own respective blues. So curious to see now if we see that early pressure that we talked about from TT, if they're able to kind of finally get, you know, the talons in and start putting, you know, LNG under pressure again for the third time.
I think really I'm looking at LNG to be the ones to be the instigators in this early game and set things rolling. We do see Yukal having the priority in mid lane, and something to note, right, we're on 12.4. We did see nerfs come through to TF, right? He lost some base damage on his Q. That definitely doesn't help with clearing waves. And on top of that, his E used to give 20 attack speed level 1 with which is significant, and now only gives 10%. So, you know, Ahri is good at contesting waves against most champs. Definitely got a bit easier up against that TF. And we actually see, instead of moving down towards the boss side of the map, Chieftain wants to contest this top side scuttle, right? He could have just gone boss scuttle, taken it. They even had priority in the bot lane, but instead his bot lane goes for a reset. Puff picks up a cull off the back of that cheetah recall, and Chieftain is able to take that top side scuttle and pose a little bit of threat towards Ale, who was a bit overextended at the time.
Yeah, and I actually love the little roam we saw from SouthWind saying, look, if something does break out, we will be 3v2. We will have the advantage in that skirmish. And especially in the early levels, that is just so powerful when you just don't have the extra, you know, bit of damage and utilities. We now see Tarzan walking up, gonna land a Q, say hello. Use actually a charm up there a little bit, so nothing else too untoward to be talking about. He's going to back himself away. And this is the combination I wanted to see. This is what I want to see from the side of LNG. You got Doinb and Tarzan roaming as a union, and it's a big old stack wave. They may need to teleport to come out here from New just to defend this. Yeah,
so they get a ward down. They don't opt to go any further. They end up just backing away. So good moves from Chieftain critically, who was there to cover and actually got spotted. So they didn't want to opt into a play where they knew Ahri could be coming down shortly after. And on top of that, the enemy jungler would be there. If that wave had been sort of lost to Puff, it would have been really significant. So heads up play from TT to defend that. It's obviously going to become a bit harder to defend from when Doinb does get that level 6 and can just Destiny down there, but for the time being, mitigating that pressure.
Liking this though from New, you can recognize to see how hard it is to just get this damage to stick from the Fiora, and it does become a little bit of a skill matchup. If you can time the parlay just as the belly slam or the body slam is coming in, you can obviously get the stun back. So back to the old, was it 2016 meta with Darius Fiora in that top side, where it becomes more of a skill matchup, and as soon as you screw it up, you've lost the game. But I don't think it's going to be as egregious as it was back then.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of fine. Like, even if all MS is up, like, you eventually get to the point where you can sustain up. Right now, it's kind of just chilling. It's just one of those things where, like, if you make a mistake post 6, there's windows. But pre 6, it's, you know, you can win trade. You can eventually set up someone getting chunked for a dive. But not too much more now. They have been spotted on a ward. So maybe should be getting out of here.
He should be, but he's been hooked. Beautiful hook there from SouthWind. First blood goes over to TT, and again, we're seeing the combination putting pressure on this mid lane.
Yeah, great to see. You deny the flash from that Twisted Fate, so has to be a lot more careful when he's walking away from mid to go for these roams. And on top of that, you manage to get the kill, relieve some pressure in the mid jungle. Definitely set things up well as Doinb is approaching that level 6 point. So really positive play. Credit to SouthWind for a beautiful prediction.
Yeah, really nicely done. We can see the pro view here. They just roam up, and this is just a great setup from the side of TT. They recognize, look, there's the flash, and he predicts where he's going to be going for it. And honestly, there's nowhere else for really for Doinb to go. If he goes too far to the left of the turret, he's going to get charmed anyway. So he recognizes that the only place he can go is to the right of the turret. So puts his hook there. Very, very nicely set up. And they don't lose anything either. There's no pressure in bot lane. There's no way that they can punish Puff for being by himself. They will get themselves a dragon, but for LNG, that's not really the start you wanted from mid lane. And again, Doinb is just not having himself a good series.
Yeah, especially as he saw them coming, right? We saw there was a ward in the brush next to red, so kind of telegraphed, still ends up falling for it. Maybe was a bit overconfident. Now, LvMao looking here, but Chieftain's there. They can go for this play.
They can 100% go for this one as the Audacious Stars comes in. They're going to try and catch out LvMao as they do get him down. And UCal is here as well to stop Tarzan from turning it over. That's just great proactive play from TT. And LNG, yes, you got the dragon, but you can't be getting lazy like that.
You know, I'm going to bring it back to what I was saying at the start of the game. I wanted LNG's mid-jungle to be popping off, right? And it really feels like TT are the ones who've had agency. Credit to SouthWind, kind of bridging the gap and being that difference maker. You have a Twisted Fate with your Destiny, and you are getting beaten on the roams towards bot. This is not what you're looking for in the composition. And I kind of go back to what we sort of set up in the draft phase. TT's team fight is excellent. LNG really are relying on having, you know, either light ahead or all ahead in the side lane. They don't really work too well if they go into team fights in the behind. It is a constellation prize that they got that dragon though. It means that Soul is delayed a bit, which is definitely nice, but still LNG not having the best start to this game.
No, really not starting it off as brightly as they would. And you can see there Doinb thought about going top lane, but then really didn't think that it was going to work that great. So already having that level 6, the first Destiny Gate is one of the biggest ones we always look towards to see the kind of tone of how this pick will work. And you can see Doinb is a little lost. Not having his flash means it's a little bit riskier, knowing that he's not going to have the same kind of level of impact. It just changes the dynamic of how you want to take this. And with the Ahri now at 6, you have got that Spirit Rush. You are going to have to be so careful of how you take these fights, because if you do try and Destiny Gate while she's around, she can land the charm, get right on top of you, and you're just dead.
Well, I think as well, if you start looking to move, you see that, you know, initially there's a lot of vision around mid from TT. LNG have kind of clawed some back. You can see 2 control wards in those side brushes. Looking for a window here.
They're going to go for him. The charm will not land. They will get the Dark Passage out. And that's the pressure you've got from this Ahri. You have got opportunities there to try and make things work. But again, nothing lost from that play from LNG. They will just get themselves out. Doinb was protected by Tarzan, who was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and, you know, that's the thing is that situation wasn't really set up to go successfully, but if you start walking into the river and you end up face checking Ahri, that's where things can get scary. Either way, Doinb is able to survive with the back to play. And now this is a little bit of a power advantage for LNG because UCal doesn't have the ultimate. He's not going to be that great in skirmishes. It means you can definitely play around the Destiny Gate and use that as a tool. And Tarzan will capitalize on that. He will start up the Herald. He's on vision, but he knows that TT aren't going to be able to go for a play. The response will be to take some plates bot. But for the most part, this is kind of going to end up being favorable for LNG.
I like the idea there from Puff, obviously trying to see if he can maybe get the AoE. It actually hit the Nautilus in mid lane, so it didn't actually make to the end of its target. But you are losing the Rift Herald for 2 solo turret plates for Puff, possibly even a 3rd if he really wants to go for it. But the rest of LNG now roaming down would be very difficult. And now LNG have to find out where they want to put this one. I will say, oh, the charm lands. That's a lot of damage on the Tarzan, but Yukal not quite feeling confident enough to go over the wall. Doesn't have a Spirit Wash. It doesn't feel like he would be doesn't feel like he would be strong enough without that particular cooldown available to him. So, coming back in, SouthWind gonna come in and the challenger dodge.
He's either going left or he's going right, and so SouthWind predicted left, and he didn't go left. So looks a little bit funny. Don't be able to dodge away on that one, but yeah. So 2 plates picked up for Puff. You can see he has a decent advantage in the bot lane matchup, especially as he got that kill earlier. Is now on LNG what they can do with that Herald, what they can achieve with it. I'm just gonna say, right, with 10.5 minutes into the game, Doinb is level 8. We haven't seen a Destiny ult, right? And we kind of just wait. And the thing with ults like the TS ultimate, there is definitely an argument for saying it applies constant pressure. Sure, don't get me wrong, but ideally it's such a powerful tool. You want to use it and then spend time with it, like coming off cooldown, right? So you can get another one. Like at this point, Doinb could have used it twice, and obviously you can't just use it willy-nilly. You have to kind of find a good scenario. But even so, they are not getting the value of this mid jungle. That's something we really hit on. We wanted to see them find favor. Right now, Doinb down 15 CS, 0-1-0, Tarzan 0-0-0. Not really what we were looking for in this situation.
And this is we can bring it back to a much more overarching narrative that a lot of people, myself included, had Tarzan and Doinb as probably the best mid jungle in the league. You know, 2 players that, regardless of the rest of the map, they would be doing well. And it was kind of more how much they could carry versus, as we can see, Ala. Nice riposte to try and stop the little damage there coming out. As News now in a little bit of trouble. Yukal going to be able to use his ultimate, try and pull out the gap. As a flash forward with the gold card, they get in underneath the tower, but Allah will trade his life. It is a 1-for-1 trade. They did use the Destiny Gate, and they have themselves the Rift Herald. I think they're just going to try and drop it top because they're going to run out of time with it very, very soon. They're not going to find a better opportunity than this.
Yeah, problem is, like, ultimately you get 2 plates. Well, you get 3 plates, actually, because they got that first initial one. But it's top tower, right? We talk about if you're just getting plates. Oh, engage coming in.
They're going to find LvMao. There's traps to stop him from walking away. So you end up getting a 2-for-1 trade at the overall state of the game. TT will also pick themselves up a dragon. You can see there that the Ahri of Yukal trying to just clear out with this wave. They should be able to pick up another plate, but like you said, not ideal situation. They're kind of losing a little bit more around the map as well. TT are definitely putting them on the pressure.
Yeah, like if you're going in the side lane, it's fine. If you take a full tower off the Herald, great. But remember, they lost 2 plates off that initial Herald take. They traded 1-for-1 top just there. They lost a member on the bot side. They only actually traded, even with the Herald, they got 1 more plate than TT. And they're down a kill and a dragon. So absolutely not worth. If you're just going to get a couple of plates, it might as well be mid, right? Is my argument in this situation. Now, what I will say is Tarzan is staying around to try and confirm this as being like a positive gold play by getting that first tower. And Ale will be the recipient of all that gold. So overall, ends up being even in gold. Doesn't end up going too badly. But I still think LNG definitely could have capitalized a bit more on the back of that Herald. Right now, we're coming into that sort of mid-game point. We have the Everfrost available for the TF for that CC layering. And we're just going to replay, yeah, just recalling on a ward. And SouthWind very confident with this play with the follow-up coming in with the Lantern.
I love what the spot lane of TT are doing as well. And specifically, SouthWind has just been really confident at knowing when he can go for things. And this very hard reactive style has been very, very solid. I will say, as we went out of that replay, LNG did get the top lane turret. So it is still a turret trade in favor of them. But that bot lane's not got a lot left in it. And you can see already, we are starting to see some more. Oh, what? He tried to use the explosive cast to try and get it. And they'll get knocked back as well. New. That was not what you needed, buddy. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. He's trying to run away. He doesn't have flash, and he has no life left in him. Ale takes himself the solo kill, and yeah, I'd be scratching my head too.
Bit of a pain point right now. Ale is with 1 item in pocket with the extra gold he got. He actually can just solo kill the Gragas if the Gragas makes a mistake. And critically, once the Fiora is up in your face, you can't body slam away, right? Because you just bash into it. That's what ended up happening there. But a big mistake to commit that ult in that situation. New struggling in this matchup, and this can and might well be the win con for LNG.
Here we go, though. They're going to try and catch out the Fiora. There it is. They're going to land down the charm, but Allah could take this fight. You got to remember that there's the Super Mega Jet Rocket over the side. Yukal wants to try and fight this one, as you are going to get the riposte. Does he have a charm left in him? Oh, Yukal! And now he's going to be caught out. He has no flash. He has nowhere to go, and he gets taken out. Oh, Aux, it's all falling apart for TT.
Yeah, really, really just unfortunate there. And I think the critical thing is you could have waited a little bit longer for Chieftain to get in range before going for that charm. Just didn't have the damage to 100-0. The Fiora, bear in mind, just to find Sundra fairly bulky, and Ahri, not the highest damage champion. Just rough, right? I feel like TT had this game in a comfortable spot. They're now over 1,000 gold behind. They've slipped a fair bit, and this Fiora is going to be a problem. A 50 CS lead in the top lane. This matchup is not going to be fun.
Yeah, and they got the counter pick for Allah as well, so Allah's just feeling pretty damn good about this one. Now he's behind enemy lines as they look to try and maybe make this one work. They've got themselves a good opportunity now to find Chieftain, but don't forget, he is still an Xin Zhao. They're going to commit a hell of a lot of ultimates to try and kill him off, and eventually Light will take him down with the Gale Force. That should mean total control of this bot side jungle and maybe even a tier 1 in mid.
Yeah, I think they're going to look for the mid tower here. I think it's hard to defend. Ahri has no ultimate available. You have number advantage. So it seems like a very aggressive play to go for. But they're actually, honestly, they're not even able to capitalize on it. Yukal moves over. Puff has a wave clear. So all in all, a lot burnt. 1 kill. I think a TT are fine with that.
Yeah, I thought that we'd be able to get a little bit more with this. You can see a 2-level difference now between these top laners. And Allah just taking a hell of a lot more favorable trades. Nu is supposed to be the tank. He's got Bramble Vest. He's got a couple of half items, really. He's kind of building towards a LvMao, kind of building towards the Frostfire Gauntlet, kind of towards the finished up, the Thimblewinter, but not really a lot in the bank there for Nu. And going to be finding himself very, very difficult to try and make do with this Fiora, who's gone the Tiamat as well. As we have a look at the replay here, and this just Chieftain. He wants the scuttle. I understand that. It's a nice little thing, but you're 3 levels behind this Fiora, and you just don't have vision.
Yeah, I will say, though, red card comes out from Doinb, doesn't quite connect to the CC.
4
a little
ults.
bit rough.
4 ultimates.
Yeah, a lot committed. And in fairness, they do get the kill. It does grant them control, but you can see they obviously have to reset later in that passage of play. And now TT are the ones who have made the map. They have control of the dragon area. They are down 2,000 gold, right? Still scary, despite the fact they have solid team fight. Still a bit of a tentative spot, but looking to potentially secure this next dragon.
Be the big moment here. It is an Infernal Drake, and that just is so good for the side of LNG if they're able to secure LvMao, though. Without his ultimate, he's not going to be able to keep himself alive. He will go into a stasis, but only to come back out, and Puff gets himself a kill. Nice pick off here for the side of TT, and now maybe they can start to push down. You do not have teleport on Doinb, and he has no Destiny Gate either, so it's almost certainly going to be a trade of Dragon for that bot lane in tier 1.
Yep, I think TT make a nice call. They found another pick, and honestly, LvMao, pretty rough this series, this game so far rather, has just been getting caught out on this Nautilus 3 times now, picked off, and usually it's SouthWind who's the one setting it up. So solid play from him. They'll secure the dragon. Yes, they do lose that bot tier 1. Yes, they're probably gonna use Herald here, but still positive play. TT get what they want out of that one.
Get what they want. They're now on the 2nd dragon, so even if the stacking goes in favor of LNG, it should still give them a little bit of extra time. As we have a quick check-in at where everybody is. You now have 2 items for Allah. He's got himself the Ravenous, the Ravenous Hydra and the Divine Sunderer. You got Gore Drinker, Everfrost, and importantly, the Rapid Fire Cannon for Doinb alongside that Gale Force for the Aphelios and bot side. But on the other side of that, that's a 3-0 Jinx. That is a 2-item Jinx coming into this mid game, which makes it so much harder for the side of LNG to take these fights, and the poke is very real.
What I will say, though, is at this point, Doinb and the 2 items with the TF, it's actually a pretty threatening combo, right? The fact that you have the long-range stun card and the Everfrost, I think LNG can use that and play around this spike for the Twisted Fate to try and have some agency. But it comes to late in the game, right? When Jinx gets 3-4 items in team fights, completely different story. But for now, I feel like they can kind of manage things reasonably well. If you're going to try and pressure up mid and look for some damage on the tower, we'll just use that lantern to get out of the situation. But yeah, ultimately, 3,000 gold V for LNG. I think they did need to have this advantage coming into this period of the game, but it's still, you're dealing with the fed Jinx on the enemy side. And I think, yes, we said Ola was a win condition, right? One of them, the side lane threat, but a lot of your gold is on him. A lot of the gold advantage for your team is going to be between top laners. So if you're not having Ola during the fight, or just the fact that he's not that good in team fights compared to like other picks that you'd find in the top lane, like, a Gwen, for example, does mean that LNG, despite the gold lead, might still be a bit tentative. Now, they are looking for SouthWind.
Yeah, they're going to try and get him. They will get the stasis out of SouthWind. Not quite sure that's what you want to be doing there. You had the gold card locked, and that was going to bring you down anyways. LvMao in a lot of trouble. Allah's going to have to flash away as well. Nu is here with the flash body slam, but he doesn't even need the flash. He just needs a body slam, so it's still a trade of support. While that's been happening, though, Light's been getting some decent free damage onto this mid lane turret, so it is still a trade up for LNG.
Yeah, they finally engaged. They managed to get a pick, and they capitalized on the mid tower as a result. Obviously, that Twisted Fate with the rapid fire cannon, hard to get away from, but ultimately a trade back comes through thanks to New moving up. And honestly, I think any situation where he's not just having a 1v1 Fiora and he gets to join the team fight is a blessing for New. It's just like a little reprieve.
Oh, thank God, I need
time.
to engage. I don't have to go into this 1v1. But yeah, this just SouthWind, he flashes away. They tried to get the CC down. Good traps there from Puff just to try and really stop it out. But I feel like once the gold card lands, he's almost actually probably better taking the gold card because he would actually be in stasis, stationary for a lot less time, basically.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where he felt like the stasis would give his team time to respond, which, you know, I guess it did. But it does mean that stopwatch is burnt. Have that tool available now. They will just defend their red in this situation, and LNG, they can quite comfortably continue to play this out as a 1-3-1, right? They do look for those windows where they can collapse and find picks, but at the end of the day, TF comfortable in the side lane, and Fiora definitely having a good time just pushing a bot. Now LvMao, man, you're 0-4, right? Stop playing with fire here.
He could have been 0-5. That charm lands, it's another hook, it's another death, and that's all the pressure that Allah's able to kind of mitigate now, and this bot side gone straight away. As we can see, New just trying his very best to be a nuisance and pick up as much farm as he can. But I would honestly say that this 3,000 gold lead is probably very much concentrated onto this Fiora. There's not really a huge amount that you can do about it. Yeah, it's going to get even worse. They could honestly take an inhibitor tower here, and yeah, Chieftain has to respond. He has to be around.
Doesn't actually need to charge the tier 2. So maybe not the best use of the Herald. I'm going to try and look for a charge onto this next tower. Is he going to try and stop it?
Oh, that was useless. Sorry, Shelly.
Oh, yeah. So pretty pointless. They still get a ton of gold onto all of those, so he's like mega ahead. And at this point, he can kind of just ignore the Gragas. Like, the Gragas does not do enough damage to really pose any threat. So you just ignore him and hit the tower instead. And I feel like as a result, LNG are kind of approaching the point where they hit critical mass, and TT, if you don't have a way of forcing fights or making things happen, you're going to be in trouble. Now, Dragon in 50 seconds likely going to lead to a scenario where they are going to end up in a fight, but I still think their team fighting hasn't hit the point where I'm really confident in them, okay? Doinb is on that 2-item spike still with the rapid fire, and the Everfrost. Yukal hasn't finished his second item yet. I think hopefully we'll be recalling to pick up a Shadow Flame off the back of this, but ultimately, I think LNG still function fairly well in these scenarios, and now looking for a pick.
Gonna go on the SouthWind. There's the gold card, but Doinb's just kind of putting him up on himself. There's gonna be the exhaust going down. They get the charm down on Doinb, and they will take out SouthWind. So no Thresh available to keep the Jinx alive as Yukal just ulting away. Allah is there, pops down the grand challenge on the Chieftain, but isn't able to follow up anything more. So yes, you get the support of TT. Can you get anything else? These death timers aren't exceptionally long, so should be able to maybe get himself on the map. They should maybe get the dragon, though, so it is still a kill for a dragon. That's LNG favorite, and I like it they're trying to focus on him, but these Destinies do feel a little bit more opportunistic.
Yeah, but it feels like the timing is right, though. You know, they're going for these picks just as dragon spawns. Particularly, although SouthWind will respawn, there's no vision in the dragon area, right? And they kind of need the support there to be established in this vision, so we'll see LNG be able to capitalize on that Drake. And you know, that is one of the big concerns for me, is as the game goes on, if Soul was picked up by TT now, that would be scary, right? If they were able to capitalize on a quick Soul, or if they were continuing to force LNG to take these fights. But LNG have actually managed this very well by binding these picks before the Dragons, so they don't have to opt in into a potentially risky full-on 5v5. Although honestly, at this point, 4,500 gold ahead, still sort of leaning on that mid-game spike for TF. I don't think TT even come out ahead in terms of the team fights, right? I really think the Jinx needs to be a lot stronger, because Fiora, as much as she's not the best team fighter in the game, she's ahead as anything right now.
She's 2 levels ahead of pretty much everybody. And if you look at Chieftain and SouthWind, she's 4 and 6 respectfully. So SouthWind will die to whatever Fiora does. He cannot walk up on that just from pure stats alone, let alone any kind of items. But as we wait onto this game, we should be seeing the Infinity Edge being finished up by Puff very, very soon. You have got 2 items now onto the Aphelios. This is Zanya's Hourglass can be finished up by Doinb very, very shortly as well. This is where the game gets a little bit tentative here as LNG just start to open up the map. You can see that slowly but surely TT are very rightly so afraid to push forward to get themselves any kind of real vision control around even their own jungle, because they know that if they go too far forward with the Destiny Gate available, they will die.
And just as a reminder, right, LNG started the split 7-0, right? Huge expectations for this roster with Doinb and Tarzan. Currently on a 3-loss streak, and we gave them, you know, a lot of room for that because, again, the teams they faced against were pretty significant. But TT of the bottom end teams, and this has been a struggle so far. And now TT starting with the Baron. They want a fight. They don't want this Fiora split.
Look at that TP ward right in the back. Look at the TP ward right in the back. They're going to use the Destiny Gate here to try and just get vision on it. As we can see now, the Observer's saying, look, 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 look. They may try and go for a flank, but no, they're going to go in top of it. It's going to be a full flip, and it's taken by TT, and now the fight can really ensue. They're going to get the kill onto Tarzan, as it's the top laner and the jungler traded off. LvMao now by himself. UCal gets himself out, and TT get out with daylight robbery.
Yep, it's a flip, but it works, right? At the end of the day, they knew if they left this Fiora unchecked to the side lane, things would be problematic. So they go, you know what? We're just going to commit to the Baron, and it worked, right? It was definitely a close one. New did a decent job of trying to keep Tarzan away, knocked him away the cast, but he was able to get back in range thanks to Sonic Wave. But ultimately, TT got what they wanted. Very concise, quick decision, and it pays off.
Yeah, and I think this is the moment where we can say like a flip is the right decision, because like you said, that Fiora was going unchecked, and they forced LNG to a position where they just weren't there to try and capitalize. Great explosive cast to stop Tarzan from getting in too early. This goes down to about 182 HP. Great trigger discipline there from Chieftain to know that he wasn't going to have to smite it too early. Doesn't go down to that steal on the side of Tarzan, and you trade 1 for 1, you get the Baron. That's just an easy win there, as we can just see Ala. He's going to find Chieftain. That's a 4-level difference between the top laner and the jungle. Chieftain flashes away. Gotta be so careful. You cannot walk alone in this jungle.
Yeah, dude, that stance as well for Fiora. She is just unreal strong right now. LvMao will be in the flash, and TT with the Baron, they want to try and make things happen. They want to try and get this mid tier 1. They are just going to push up as 5 and kind of leave this Fiora a little bit unchecked. Now, you see UCal pinging.
Who checks
I don't think... Okay, he's no mana. Him being no mana might make a difference.
Yeah, it might do it. They're going to try and see if they can bait out the parry, but you can see one auto attack there from Allah. And then UCal is taking so much damage. Chieftain trying to go in. He 1v2s this one. No problem whatsoever. He's a Fiora, and he is doing so much in this game. Chieftain going to get the Dark Passage out, but the rest of LNG are now piling in. There's the Destiny Gate coming in right on top of the bush. He gets on top of Chieftain. He goes down. Now LvMao going to be falling down in this fight as they can get some resets. Puff trying to get the resets off on this Jinx. He gets himself a little bit excited. Tarzan gets himself behind the KD carry as a double kill, but no, he gets shut down as Light finally joins in with Allah as well. Doinb goes into stasis to stop the splash belly flop, and that's going to be enough for LNG to get rid of all of these Baron buffs.
Yeah, they managed to crush it, and critically, I was thinking maybe TT are like, he's low mana, we can possibly kill him. It doesn't even matter. He's enough mana for a couple of Qs, and that's all it needs to win that 1v2. Crushes UCal's Ahri, and with that, maybe just the dreams of TT in a series. They're going to take this inhibitor for now. Don't think they'll push any more, but it is now a 7,000 gold lead for LNG, and this Fiora has gone from a problem to a menace to just unstoppable.
It is becoming a massive issue, a thorn in the side of TT, and there was so much positive from TT in this series. Their early games were great. Yes, the Baron was a flip there in this game, but it was a necessary flip. And now, as we look at the replay, this is just, they think they have him, but look at the damage. This is what 2 auto attacks go onto UCal? 1, and then it's just like 2, and he's already down below half. 2 auto attacks, he's nearly dead.
And the red buff just kills him, right? And I think the thing is, they saw the low mana. They're like, he can't riposte, right? And you actually see after 3 Qs, he's out of mana completely. But it doesn't matter. He's an auto attack champion. He just hits you with the Reiki, and that's enough.
Tarzan, he's looking for something, but they've already found an engage. LvMao is dead. It's now a 5v4. TT, you have an opportunity here. They know that there's someone behind the pick because a pink ward just went down. Dragon has been started. They're going to try and burn this one down. SouthWind going to try and keep him away. They get the dragons. That's the sole point here for TT, but now they're going to try and take the fight. UCal just jumping in and out. The Jinx, though, is dead. That's your consistent damage. No longer available. The Fiora and the Aphelios. Triple kill there for the Light of LNG as he pushes forward, maybe even looking for a quadra kill. He won't be able to get the penta, but they'll still keep pushing. They'll still keep hunting as UCal finally gets himself away. He's going to try and get himself over the wall. He's trying to see if he can bait out Allah over the wall, but it's not going to happen. And with super minions now streaming into the top side, it looks like LNG have survived this scare, and they will take this series.
Definitely not the most convincing series from a top team against one at the bottom, but LNG managed to close it out and break their 3-loss streak. Will put themselves at 8-3. Pretty solid performance from Ola. I've been critical of him throughout the split, but managed to deliver on the Fiora when it really mattered.
Big win there for LNG. They stopped the free fall. They finally get themselves their first win in 4 series, albeit against TT, but you take those and...
Hey, a win is a win. is a win, is a win.
But then we got to do, then the real fun begins, because the next series that we do for LNG, we got to talk about it critically, because like you mentioned,